Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video I'm getting around to the Riot K4. I picked up this one at the USN show that was in Vegas Labor Day weekend, and this was my end of the show last minute purchase before essentially leaving the show. So I'll tell you about the story and then we'll jump into the specs, overall impressions, and details. So, as when you go to these shows, there are often lotteries and auctions and so forth that most people are chasing or following throughout the show. And I showed you guys in kind of my post. I think I did a post USN video show. Anyways, you guys have seen this one briefly before, but I was wandering around the show. At the very end, after the lottos were all done, I'd already been to the Riot table at least 3 or 4 times and went back there, was kind of browsing perhaps more intently since the show was about to end and I had only acquired one knife the entire show. And the Damasteel pivot collars caught my eye on this model. And then once the Damasteel pivot collars caught my eye, then the gold body screws caught my eye, and the very subtle carbon fiber inlays caught my eye. And before you know it, I'm picking up this knife. Well, I was wandering around the show at that point with my buddy Kublade. He has a very nice custom collection. He takes awesome pictures. He's on Instagram. But we were both standing there at the Riot table. I was looking at this one. He was looking at one with Timascus or Mokutai inlays. Might have had a Damasteel blade. I don't recall. And he's like, "What do you think?" And I never tell people to buy knives because, you guys know what you like. You buy what you like. You know what your budget is. I don't want to tell you guys what to buy ever. And I don't want to tell him what to buy. But what I said to him is, well, what custom maker would make you a fully contoured, knife with, Timascus or Mokutai inlays? Could they execute to this degree of quality, and what would it cost? And he thought about it for a second, and he was like, "Yeah, I see your point." And he ended up picking up, the knife that he was looking at, which was, I think, the most expensive one on the table. And, I went home with this one. So here's the show card. It's not a certificate of authenticity. It's just the show card with the date and so forth. Anyways, you guys saw the price. But this one is, again, it's the K4 model, M390, titanium handles with carbon fiber inlays, Damasteel pivot collars on the front and the back, titanium gold body screws, detent balls inlaid for. It's an aesthetic feature, obviously. Ceramic bearing, ceramic detent, M390 steel, compound grind with a hollow and then a flat at the tip, slight recurve, a drop point with a swedge, so pretty complex grind, but obviously very, very well executed. Got fluff all over the knife. Anyways, very smooth and really good action. I think this one's still breaking in. It's not quite as smooth as like my K3, but it could be that this one is, a non-coated blade or satin blade might just make it a little bit smoother right out of the box. But anyways, now that I've shared the story, last minute acquisition at the USN show, caught my eye, couldn't leave without it type of purchase. Let's get into the specs. So got our monetary note here. We've got the Para 2 and yeah. So blade length 3.75 inches, handle length 4.75, overall 8.5. This one weighs in on my scale at 5.73 ounces. I believe some of the ones with the the Timascus, the Mokutai, the Damasteel inlays, those ones are going to be a little bit heavier, over perhaps 6 ounces. Handle thickness 0.55 inches. Blade thickness is 0.16 inches. Comes down to a very keen hollow edge, and then the flat tips definitely got a lot more meat behind it there. So let's see. Handle width 1.25. So anyways, those are the specs for the most part. Titanium backspacer. Obviously this one is full, PVD coated, the blade and the handle. It's been given a very subtle stone wash. Very, very subtle. perhaps you only catch it in certain lighting. Let's move that out of the way. The PVD coating gives it a little bit more of a slick finish, to be honest. Now, I knew that when I bought it. Not slippery, but certainly a little more slick. And let's take a look at centering, perfection. Lockup, I think, was about 25, maybe 30% on this one. Rock solid. And let's take a peek at the action. Very strong. Pretty smooth. Still, I think this one's still breaking in. I don't know how many cycles I have on. I've carried it a number of times, but you know, it hasn't been like the daily carry for weeks, so I don't think it's quite broken in. Flipper tab, love the geometry. My favorite is always a 45 like this with jimping on it, so this one is done very, very well. Makes for a very easy flipper. Anyhow, so that is the K4 in a nutshell. Let's take a look at it in a little more detail. Already shown you guys the blade. Again, kind of a PVD with a stone wash. No idea how well it's going to hold up over time. Flat spot here on the spine. Pretty comfortable, no jimping. I don't know that it necessarily needs it. But the flipper tab has it, which, again, it would definitely need. So, alright, let's take a look at the frame. A lot of nice milling here. You know, like this, this kind of triple stepped here towards the front. You know, again, aesthetic. A lot of aesthetic milling here on this one. The lines throughout that go across. I don't know, the jimping here on the top. Very, very low traction. Doesn't really add a whole lot, but again, it looks good. Inlaid detent balls. And then they correspond to the mill lines on top. So that's kind of a cool feature. Those are ceramic detent balls right there. Obviously, Riot's got a ton of those, so pretty cool to see them just kind of incorporated. The pocket clip is perfect. Goes in and out of jeans without any problem. Decent amount of spring tension, no wiggle. Really well executed, so great job there. I've had problems with more pocket clips lately where they don't work with jeans, so always happy when, well, like these ones do. You know, where the, I don't even know what to call, where the contact point of the pocket clip is versus where the lock bar cutout is, they do not overlap, and so it doesn't snag on my jeans. Typically when this is at the pretty much the same spot, the relief cut for the lock bar and then the contact point of the clip, when they're at the same spot, that's where you tend to have a lot of snagging on jeans. So there is a lanyard hole. You may have to take the knife apart to get a normal piece of paracord back there. It's I mean, this is how much access you have when it's, you know, normal. I mean, I don't know, perhaps you can figure it out. I don't like lanyards anyway, so it does not bother me in the slightest. Pocket clip is not reversible, so yeah. Anyways, you know, the name of the game with this one is certainly the fully contoured handles with the incredible inlay work here. I'm going to try to give you guys a close-up so you can see how well done it is. And no inlays on the lock side. So yeah, that is, I mean, that's pretty much everything with this one. One thing that could have probably been improved was a little bit more generous cutout here for disengagement. It's a really short, narrow shelf. I'm glad they did something, but perhaps a little wider, a little deeper chamfer for disengagement would help. I don't know, maybe if you have smaller hands you won't notice. And there has been some internal milling here, skeletonizing to, of course, reduce weight. Balance point is perfect. So yeah, really well done. You know, again, here's the K3. So you know, slightly different animal, flat scales, inlay work with the inlay slightly recessed versus perfectly flush inlays on contoured handles. So the K2, was the Tonto that had a couple different variations of the handle patterns, and then the K1. Don't remember how many variations there were of the K1, but I don't know. Almost seems like a progression here in complexity of build all the way up to the K4. But you know, as time has gone on, again, Reate has done nothing but potentially get better. Since they started working with Beg, I feel like they have really stepped up the game with inlays. And of course, Beg Knives is very, very well known for their inlays and their finish work and some of the really high-end materials that they use, you know, Juma and wood inlays and all sorts of other things. So, you know, if anything, Reate's going to continue to get better. I haven't had any quality control issues. I haven't had any problems with any of their builds. Well, from anyone, you know, be it you know, Reate or the Liang Maz or like the Arcform. I mean, they kill it. So I think we're seeing that they, or at least at this point, they're starting to do fewer runs and more variations. Like this one at the show was 1 of 3. I think 2 of them were identical, and then 1 had a satin flat here at the tip on both sides. So I mean, potentially this is just 1 of 2. I think they said this was a show special. We're not going to do more of this configuration. If they do, cool. You know, I don't care. I don't have to have like 1 of, you know, or have to be super exclusive with the stuff that I have. I just really like this one. So if they make more power to them. If not, then, you know, it is what it is. So, but that seems to be the name of the game with the industry now. I mean, you got to keep coming out with new stuff. You got to keep coming out quickly because people are always looking for that next hit of you know, knife cocaine to get in their system. So, all right, well, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for watching and listening to me ramble a little bit, tell you the story on this one. More videos to come. You can always follow me on Instagram for daily content. Take care.